Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with Players and DMs of MrRipper. When was the rule of cool enforced? Part 2. As a DM who started as a rule-lawyering psychopath to a now, rules are just a guideline you can try anything you want, the rule of cool has been a much more recent thing I've tried out with my players. During a trip to an uncharted smuggler's island, they sailed through a terrible storm, which heavily damaged the ship they were on. One of my players was playing a storm sorcerer Cobalt named Disaster. She was trying everything in her power to tame the weather, which sadly was beyond her current level's capabilities. So I allowed her to make a dangerous roll, stating that regardless how good or bad, she would be exerting herself beyond her limits to try to gain access to her higher level feature, taking a level of exhaustion for each level above her current to even attempt to pull this off. She took 3 levels of exhaustion and even lost the ability to cast some spells until she recovered. She succeeded with flying colors and parted the clouds of the storm like Moses parted the Red Seas, followed by passing out from the intense pressure of using such a powerful ability. When she woke, she learned that she had saved the ship and everyone on it in a situation that should have left the ship capsized and sunk. Now everyone refers to her as Zess, the Stormbreaker. I've had a couple happen to me and have had my players create some moments like this. But for me, one of my favorite moments was when I accidentally let my party get themselves a mini Chardalan dragon as a pet. I mean, I give them a ton of shit about it and act like I hate myself for doing it, but it was a great moment and worthy of bending the rules for. Well, the story goes like this. During one of the characters' backstory arcs, the party is sent to go investigate a dungeon. There's a storm brewing in the ocean off the coast of one of the islands where storms like this never happen. That, along with some other goings-on the island, has led the resistance fighters to believe that there's some kind of fuckery going on in an underwater ruin, all that they recently discovered that actually happens to sit directly under where the storm has been brewing. Basically, this was just supposed to be a 2 or 3 session dungeon crawl just to see how they liked it, see if we wanted to do it more often, and to get them a little closer to the end of the player's campaign arc, with some needed information, of course. That was 6 sessions ago. They're still in the dungeon. A couple of sessions ago, though, my players decided to throw me a curveball. They knew there were 3 main portions of this dungeon: the Elder Oblex, the Charlatan Dragon, and the upper level, which appears to be some sort of headquarters for the Red Knights, their main enemies thus far in the campaign. They beat the Oblex in 1 round. It was terrifying how quickly they dispatched the thing. Then they decided, well, we whipped that thing, the dragon can't be that much harder, right? In a world, there is a creator race called the Creodon, and they built a bunch of automatons for security within their cities. Well, this dungeon was the ruins of a Creodon city, and the dragon was one of their security constructs. Luckily for the party, they have a Creodon party member. So, as such, the dragon refused to attack the one Creodon party member. Now in these cities, they have giant power crystals that power this city through the use of stored magical energy, which these crystals are able not to just store, but multiply within themselves to the point where the energy radiates out of them and charges nearby crystals. Thus, the civilization was able to use said crystals to power basically everything. Yes, it's partly ripped from the Fool's Gold campaign, but with my own twists on it, damn it. The Creodon actually embedded the crystals inside themselves at the base of the neck, so once it's implanted, oh, it's not coming out. The power crystal inside this city is too broken to function. However, the dragons are large enough that their power crystal is powerful enough to charge nearby crystals, including the ones inside Creodons, like my party's Creodon party member. So he gets near the dragon and his crystal activates. Now, he's a fully powered Creodon, which causes the dragon not only to not attack him, but to obey his commands. So out of character, the woman playing this character asks, "Can't we just take the dragon with us now?" I tell her it's too big to get it out of the room it's in, and another player says, "Well, her character's in God mode now, can't he just shrink it down?" Oh, you didn't see that coming. Wait, the rules say that Charlatan dragons can't be affected by spells or effects that change their shape or size. I'm saved. But the rest of the party is so jazzed up about the possibility of having a mini dragon that can recharge their friends' god powers, I conveniently ignore that particular aspect of that stat block and let them have their pet dragon. Significantly nerfed, of course, and they can only use it in Big Dragon mode once per day for 10 minutes or until they use a sufficient enough of the god power to require the dragon to recharge, at which point it shrinks back to small size. But hey, they have a pet mechanical dragon now. Oh, and the funniest part is since only the Creodon character and one other member of the party know the Creodon language, they're the only ones who know that the dragon only allowed the other party members to survive was because the Creodon member of the party called them servants. Because the Creodon didn't consider anyone outside their own race as friends, so the dragon didn't understand that word. This was a few years back, but a player in a short-lived campaign had a sword that could stretch. They often used it to grapple. One session, they grappled an orc and asked if they could pull the sword like they were launching a Beyblade. Oh, I told them to roll for it. Nat 20. And then rolled max damage. The orc was missing a lot of parts afterwards. A simple one that rule of cool doesn't always need to be grand. In my Pathfinder 1st edition game, yay Pathfinder, I tossed in stat-adjusted displacer beasts. The party killed them, skinned them, and made 2 cloaks of displacements out of them. The witch of the party has a scorpion familiar aptly named El Salvador, who also happens to sting said witch whenever she strays too far off with her antics, so they have a curious relationship with one another. She asked if it would be possible to craft a small cloak of displacement minor, 20% mischance, for him. Well, I said sure. Though it's never actually been used, this little scorpion has a cloak that elegantly flaps in the wind as he rides the witch's shoulder. That's so cute and kind of spooky. Alright, due to this being a heavily homebrewed and off-the-walls campaign, some parts may seem pretty out there. Just a warning. They were fighting a variant Hydra I made that had a different element for each of its heads, which we now jokingly refer to as Baby Tiamat. This boss fight was essentially structured as they fight a normal Hydra on a lake with their rowboat and flying broom. They kill it, it comes back out of the water with its baby Tiamat form. Riom, their Hexblade Warlock, transformed into a special red form that their character had, which essentially gave a boost in damage at the cost of being under the control of a minor antagonist of the campaign for the duration of it. And Taro, their sorcerer and main source of fire damage, was the only one standing in the rowboat. The Hydra attacks Taro and the rowboat, and he was knocked into the water, and then knocked unconscious after, so it seemed like he would end up drowning during the fight. But since there was already one anime-esque transformation I allowed on the team, and Taro's whole character being about having an ancient aberration psychically linked to him with a relationship that was kind of like Moon Knight and Khonshu from Moon Knight or Light and Ryu from Death Note, I decided that he could have a cool transformation too. So Taro shot back up out of the water with a cool aberration mask with 1 HP. Meanwhile, we started playing that one song from Bleach, and all found the scene to be pretty epic. Unfortunately, he was back down and drowning again after the next turn, but for the time it was cool. That whole session turned out as a fun last hurrah for that campaign and had a few other hilarious moments in it. Well, don't wait, do share. The bear totem Barbarian wanted to try to catch a cannonball flying at high speed towards him and throw it back if he succeeds with a nat 20. Well, he did, so I allowed it. What the hell? Every single enemy that the rest of the party killed, my Cyberman character converted. The campaign ended up something like this. The big bad evil guy about to become a lich. You can't stop me. The monk says, yes, we can. The big bad says, well, you and what army? I just love how the Cyberman just goes, delete! Literally hundreds of other Cybermen, you will be deleted. Suffice to say, the big bad evil guy killed, entire surrounding area turned into rubble, and Skynet finally took over. I am in a game that the DM calls BSery. The rule of cool might as well be a law because if we say it and it's cool or funny, it immediately becomes canon. It's why my female Cobalt, who has boobs because it is difficult to find images of female Cobalts without boobs, has been dubbed a titty bold. A titty bold? The lore we came up with it for is that she ate a mushroom called a thick shroom in order to become beautiful. It was hilarious. Like, listen, you don't need to have big tatas to be beautiful, but could you imagine a gigantic tataed Cobalt just running around going, "I don't know how to hold up these things. They're like melons. They're the size of me." I'm not sure if this really counts, but here it goes. I'm a player in a game where one of the other players plays an orc fighter who is aspiring to become a famous chef. He was working on his cooking skills one night when an assassin hired by the big bad entered his kitchen to kill him. After a lucky perception roll, the orc pretends not to have seen the assassin and rolls to chuck a cleaver at or near the assassin's head. Nat 20. The DM switches to the assassin's point of view and describes how he had infiltrated the target's home flawlessly until he enters the kitchen, and a meat cleaver embeds itself in the wall inches from his face, and he hears the orc's voice from inside. "You ain't as sneaky as you think. Scram now, or the next one ain't a missin'." I was playing a dragonborn barbarian named Chad the Stupid. I maxed out strength, dexterity, and constitution while having minimal wisdom, intelligence, and charisma, as a Chad would. The party was all inside of a gargantuan worm, with the only one making the necessary dex save being Chad, who was attempting to eat the worm because he wanted to show him how he likes it, which of course was not going well. Well, the DM had allowed us to basically do whatever crazy over-the-top thing we wanted, as long as we got 5 nat 20s in a row. The only time this has ever been accomplished before was when the wizard teleported the entire moon into the sun. That certainly couldn't have messed up any ecosystems. While me and the party were laughing, that same wizard was now known as the Eclipse King jokingly told me to just pick it up and shake it until we fall out. Well, I had a reputation of taking jokes and using them to break the game. So Chad reached into the sand, grabbed onto the very end of the worm's tail, and after the 4 most silent rolls of my life, followed by the most laugh-filled roll in my life, Chad flexed his legs and ripped the worm out of the ground and onto his back. The DM described how the worm was attempting to escape, but I told him that I was only half done. Chad threw the worm into the air, ran to where its head was going to land, caught it out of the air, rotated it vertically, and started to shake it. The DM loved the situation so much that he ruled that not only did I free the party, but I also scared away the worm, which was our goal in the first place. After we returned to town, Chad the Stupid was named to Chad the Worm Wrecker. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell so you get notified whenever we post a brand new video. And don't you forget to leave a comment down below. All the love, everybody. See you later.